Hello, and today we're here to look at some kit again. I come out to a local airfield, and what I brought with me is my trusty 80 to 200 2.8 Nikon, because Paul, you remember Paul, he's got a lens that he says is so much sharper than this, I won't believe it. So I'm going to meet him here. He's over here by his car now. Let's see what he's got that he thinks is better than my Nikon 200 2.8. I'm not buying it. Paul, how you doing?
How do you do?
Let me get the microphone. Right. What have you got?
50 to 140 Fuji 2.8.
Okay.
Which is the equivalent of yours.
Well, it's a 140.
50 to 140.
Do you know what? When you said 140, then I thought that can't be a 140. That's as big as my 200 mil.
It covers exactly the same range.
Yeah, but it's still a 140. I mean, I'm thinking that little Fuji X10 that I shoot with has got what is it, a 24 to 120 lens. It's still 2.8 at the 120 end, and it is about the size of my thumb. Look at that! It's huge for 140 mil. What have they put into it?
A lot of different special glass, apparently. I don't know how much, but
well, it's
waterproof, everything.
We may be going underwater by the sound of it. We'll go and see just how sharp this lens is.
Yes.
Compared. Let's compare it to the Nikon. Okay.
Bit shorter.
Okay. The Nikon is slightly bigger, isn't it?
Yes.
And what about weight? Let's feel that.
Feel that.
No, there isn't much in it. Not
No.
much in it.
No.
Not much in that at all. So I think it's just a case of let's go out. Let's see how they feel. Let's see how they perform. Obviously, that's a 140, but it's on a APS sensor. So
210.
So that's 210. So they're roughly the same lens, aren't they? Nikon versus Fuji.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Let's go. Okay, the first stop here, because in front of us, it looks like it's in the same condition as my car. What is it?
Jet Provost.
It's a Jet Provost. Paul's the aviation man. I know that I'm going to be spending most of the day saying, what's that? So let's see, what are we? I don't know, maybe 30, 40 feet away, yards away.
Probably.
Yeah, let's close in with the zooms and see how they do head to head. So let's start with the Fuji, and that's a close-up with the Fuji lens, the to 140 mil, reasonably good. Let's have a look to see what the Nikon did in comparison. Okay, there it is, another good shot. Very different to the Fuji. It doesn't have the punch in the colour, does it? It doesn't have that contrast, but it does seem slightly more detailed, maybe? I don't know. Let's have a look at a less colourful picture. The tailplane there, and the Nikon. Yeah, the Nikon's got much more subdued colours there, but it does seem to be getting a little more detail out. Is that me? I don't know. Let's try a real close-up. Let's look at the light and the detail, and you can see the increased contrast there on the Fuji and the colour saturation. But there's a really nice tone. So look at the bare metal there. There's more detail in the Nikon, I think. Definitely, I think the Nikon has a little bit more detail. This little helicopter is just starting up. So we're going to see if we can get some pictures of it as it goes up with the Fuji, with the Nikon. We'll try and blur the rotors. What do you use? What, 125th to blur the rotors? 250.
Yep.
250 should be enough. 250 seconds should be enough to blur the rotors. So the Nikon springs into action, the helicopter takes off, and it's doing well. Looks good. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh my life, you can see the time on his watch. The helicopter swivels around, ready for takeoff. It's all good to go. The Nikon lens is doing a great job, exactly as I would expect it to. Good exposure, good focus. Hang on a minute. Where's Paul's pictures? Where are the Fujis? I said, oh Paul, let me have a look at your camera. And so I had a quick look and was thinking I was on the Sony. What have I done, Paul?
Wiped out the pictures.
I've wiped his pictures out, sorry. So you'll never know how good his pictures were of that helicopter because I've wiped them off the disc by mistake. Honestly, it was by mistake. It wasn't because I wanted to win so much, but I do. Hey, look what we found to take a picture of. We're at an airport. It's not a plane. Look, it's what Enzo Ferrari called the most beautiful car ever made, an E-Type Jag. Isn't it fantastic? And with those wide wheels there, look, that is the perfect test for these two lenses, isn't it? And so we set to work with the Fuji. This is the Fuji's capture on maximum zoom, and we've dinked a little tiny bit of flashing from the camera's onboard pop-up flash, and that extra contrast it gives you is excellent, isn't it? It's really pinged that. It's done a good job. Let's have a look at the Nikon. Right, slightly warmer. And that flash again is pinged in a little bit, but is that sharper again? I don't know. To me, it does look sharper. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. What do you think? It's a close one to call, but I do think I prefer the Nikon picture. Look at those lines behind it. That looks really good, doesn't it? So I'm hoping we can come right the way in, look, and do some really nice pictures from there. And Paul starts the ball rolling with the Fuji, and a great job. Again, that extra contrast. It's pinging, isn't it? I mean, it really is lifting the colour of this car, and it's quite high contrast on the paintwork. I mean, the highlights are dominating a little bit. You'd have to take those down in post. Let's have a look at what the Nikon did with the same picture. Yeah, that's much more subdued, and as you can see, it hasn't lost the highlights quite so much in the bonnet. There were more tones there. I just think, okay, the colour isn't pinging quite so much. You might need to lift the saturation if you wanted really red looking E-Type, but for me, more detail in those mid-tones. Now, we shot these at, I think, f8 or 5, 6 or 8, but let's open them right up, focus on that Jaguar badge, see if we can blow the background away. Let's start with the Nikon. There we go. We've really changed that picture and got some differential focusing going on. The Nikon's focused on that Jaguar badge at the front, and everything is running out. You can see the windscreen running out, the wipers running out, and the background really starting to blur and give that effect where the eye is drawn into the Jaguar badge and that bumper at the front. Really nice. So let's give the Fuji a go with its APS sensor. Can it do the same job? Let's see. No, it can't, is the short answer. The background, look at those lines, they are too sharp. You would have to add them in post, I think. That's at 2.8, and because of the smaller size sensor, because it's not a full frame sensor, it just can't give you that same bokeh. It can't blow the background out quite so much. So I think that is a definite win for the Nikon lens. Well, it's not the lens, is it? It's the camera body. On a full frame lens, it would be able to do just as good a job. Right, we're walking along the road here. We've just come out of the entrance to the airport because it's an old Second World War airport, and just a little bit down the way here in a field now, derelict to the old barracks where the pilots used to sleep. So we're just going to go and see if we can grab a quick long lens shot with these two lenses. Oh wow, look at that old building. You can just almost see the pilots scrambling out from their breakfast, can't you, to their aeroplanes. And look at it, it's a sad state now to see, but let's see how the cameras have got on. This is the Fuji. It's done really well. It's got lots of mid-tones. It's obviously got detail in the shadow there. Look, I mean, overall, I think it's done a pretty good job. Now the Nikon, it's a very different colour, isn't it? And it's a very different picture. I think it's whichever one suits your style of photography. I mean, I like this. It's got a little bit more sort of punch and grit to it, hasn't it? It's showing you more midtones, which to me means that there's more that I can do with the picture in post. Let's have a look at these buildings from a little bit further away from the road, so we get a bit of foreground detail, shadow detail in. Well, that's the Nikon. It looks nice there in the background. Seems to have lots of detail. Let's compare it to the Fuji. Let's see what the Fuji did. Oh wow! Now the Fuji, I think, has done a slightly better job there. I like the tones in that. Let's put them side by side. Yeah, now I have to say, oh, it's difficult to choose. I mean, one has got a little bit more contrast, a little bit more subdued colour. The other one is recording more colour. 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. There's definitely more detail, I think, tones in that Fuji on that one, which is bizarre. Now we've just done those pictures, and here's an interesting thing. Paul tells me that he's got a battery warning. He's got a battery warning on the Fuji, the XH1. I presume you bought a few batteries with you?
Yes.
And it was all charged when we started?
Yes.
And we've been here maybe, let's have a look, an hour. We've been doing pictures. I'm on the Nikon D810 here, and I haven't even used a bar on that. I'm pretty confident that I could shoot for the rest of the day, maybe even tomorrow as well. So we head home, and while Paul is charging some batteries, we look at some of the pictures from the garden. Now here's the Fuji and the Nikon side by side. I don't think there's much between them, is there, other than maybe a little bit of warmth in the one. Let's have a look at a water feature. Less colour in this shot. It's almost black and white, isn't it, other than that little bit of green in the middle. But this is the Nikon giving us lots of mid-tones. I expect the Fuji will be a little bit punchier, a little bit more contrasty. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's exactly what we thought. It depends what kind of photography you like. This is definitely more punchy. It does give a slightly strange look on the bokeh, doesn't it? Is that to do with the small sensor? Well, I think this shot answers that question. As you can see, the Nikon on the left has just blown everything away with its full-size sensor. On the right, the Fuji is still giving you some bokeh from the highlights in the background. The Fuji Rosebud is much sharper because of the close proximity. The Nikon, with its slightly less of a depth of field, has just lost a bit of sharpness on the Rosebud. Let's have a look at some open flowers. And the Nikon has done a nice job of softly giving you some nice tones, lots of mid-tones to play with. Let's have a look at what the Fuji did. Yeah, pretty much as we expected. It's a little bit punchier, perhaps not quite so many tones. So let's just put an image up with two images together so we can have a look. We've got a little bee here, busy at work. The Fuji is on the left, and the Nikon is on the right. And again, the Nikon is blowing things away. Don't forget that is not the lens. They're both 2.8 lenses. If we had the Fuji lens on the Nikon full-frame body, then you would be seeing very different bokeh, very different differential focusing. It's only the fact that it's on the XH1 that means it's an APS sensor, which means it isn't giving you quite so much of a shallow depth of field. It's picking up more in the background. Lenses are both good. It's really difficult to pick between these. I don't know which is better, honestly. Paul, I'm interested to know, it's been quite a long time since you have used a Nikon lens, because a DSLR Nikon lens. You've been mirrorless systems for quite some time, and today I gave you the Nikon to shoot with. What was it like?
It felt a bit agricultural. Clunk.
Yeah.
A bit heavy.
Yeah. Just physical.
Still nice though. You know.
Yeah. But there's a big physical difference, isn't there, between a mirrorless camera and a DSLR?
Yeah. the big difference. I wouldn't change from mirrorless
See,
at all.
yeah, well, you see, I quite like that clunk, and I've talked about it before. I quite like that very assertive clunk that you get, you know, with the mirror flipping up and the shutter going, and you know, the camera saying to you, "Yeah, I've taken that picture. Move on." Whereas, you know, with the mirrorless, you get that little click, and sometimes I do get that kind of feeling that, you know, has it taken or
well, you get used to that.
Yeah, I suppose you do.
Yeah.
What about the lens? Using the lenses, did you find any difference there? You know, when you were looking through the camera.
Well, they are a bit smaller. They are smaller. Apart from that, no.
No, just the size.
Yeah, they're very sharp, incredibly sharp.
And you didn't feel like you were searching with the Nikon lens or anything, or
No problem.
I must admit, I haven't found perhaps you know, the differences that some people find, but nevertheless, this is a test of you know. I mean, if we were saying build quality. I mean, the Nikon feels solid, but so does the Fuji.
Yeah.
It would be hard to.
It's true, yeah. There's no difference in the build quality.
You know, I can't say that there'd be much difference there. The confidence, how they make you feel.
Yeah. Oh, I really enjoy using them. Nice feel, yeah.
What, the Fuji?
I've used quite a few different Fujis. Pro 1, Pro 2, etc. XT1, and they all feel nice.
Yeah.
They feel very nice.
Yeah, and so the results are the other thing. Is one significantly better than the other? So you know, the results on the screen will tell you that. So what we're saying essentially, I think, is that when it comes down to the lenses, it's just the pictures you get at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Actually, the physical lens in your hand, you know. Isn't really a problem with these lenses.
Yeah.
However, there are other lenses that we might talk about in the future.
Yeah, they're different.
That are just too big. And you know what I'm thinking about now?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that
100 to 400.
The 100 to 400 Fuji, which you know, you do need at least maybe a month, 2 months. I'd say probably in the gym before you take that one out.
It is a big lens.
And so. Okay, right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it, you know, helped you decide which one you want to go for between those two lenses. Let's finish off with a few more pictures. So it's a side-by-side comparison now. Here's the Fuji, and here's the Nikon. Nikon slightly more subdued colours. Here's the Fuji. That's nice, isn't it? I like the look of that. Let's check the Nikon. Yeah, again, more tones, less colour. The Fuji, really pinging, and the Nikon more subdued. There's a pattern here, isn't there? Here's the Fuji, lots of colour look. Nikon, yeah, not quite so much colour. We can see a pattern happening here. A more contrasty picture, here's the Fuji, and the Nikon, more shadow detail, less contrast. So I've got to make a decision. Another one for the Fuji, and the Nikon, yeah, pretty much as I thought. But nevertheless, if I have going to make a decision, I would go with the Nikon. And I'm going to leave Paul to his Fuji.